Everybody, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Ask everybody to stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did everybody receive the copy of the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, request a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any items from board members?
Just my reminder to make sure when you speak to turn your microphone on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any items from staff? Okay, we've got two public hearings this evening. First one is V 2411 Nixon 2110 Canton View Pool Variance. It's a consideration of a variance to reduce the rear setback for a swimming pool from 20 feet to 11 feet. The property is located at 2110 Canton View and is legally described as being located in land line 1197, 2nd District, 2nd Section, Fulton County, Georgia. Mr. Woodman?
Thank you, Chairman and board members. The first item before you, the applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the rear setback for a swimming pool. Setback reduction would be from 20 to 11 feet. And I do have the location map on the overhead. Property is located at 2110 Canton View in the 12 on Canton subdivision on Canton Street. Property is approximately 0.64 acres. It's zoned R10. Developed with a two-story, about 5,500 square foot, single-family detached home. The Unified Development Code requires a 20-foot setback at the rear property line and 10-foot setback on the side, against the side property line. This is the applicant's site plan, and I'm going to try to zoom in on the pool area just so you can see it a little bit better. All right. So this is the home. This is Canton Street, the front of the property, and then this is Canton View coming into the 12 on Canton neighborhood. So the two homes, if you know 12 on Canton, the two homes at the front of the development face Canton Street, and then all the homes behind face along Canton View. So this property is positioned differently than the rest of the properties in the subdivision, except for the property directly south of it. So it is oriented to Canton Street. It did have a greater front setback from Canton Street than the rest of the homes have from Canton View. So it is part of the hardship supporting the requested reduction in the rear setback. They are showing approximately 615 square foot pool. So this is the proposed pool at the rear of the property. We did look at the subdivision. Curious about if any of the other homes in the subdivision had swimming pools, and we identified 8 out of the 12 homes have swimming pools. So the applicant is asking for something that the majority of properties do have within the subdivision. Of course, looking at the review criteria for the variance, we did note that it is a corner lot, so they are a little bit different than the other properties. It's fronting on a collector street, Canton Street. It does require a larger front and a side corner setback. So the side corner setback is the setback on this side of the property. So it does have a greater setback there than other homes would have. And so that limits the overall space for them to build the pool. With that, we are recommending approval of the applicant's request, and we do recommend 2 conditions. The first condition, tying it to this plan that I'm showing you on the overhead, A plan prepared by Georgia Classic Pools dated 9/1/21. Is that correct? Seems like an old date. Believe that that date is wrong in the staff report. That date should read 1/15/24. My apologies for that. And then condition 2, any impacted landscaping shall be replaced along the southern and eastern property line to provide a screen to adjacent properties. And that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, happy to answer those.
Thank you. Any questions from board? Please.
One question, just to confirm. We're only talking about on one side going in 1 foot of the setback of where it should be necessarily, right?
So they meet the setback. This would be considered the side setback for the pool here. So they meet that setback. The minimum setback there is 10 feet. On the back, the rear setback, that's what requires a 20-foot setback from this rear property line. They're asking to reduce that down to 11. So it's actually reducing it by 9 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions from board? Please.
Michael, the neighbors from the south side and the west side, are they being informed properly? I understand the south side of the property is under, well, it's a new building actually going on, so are they fully aware of it and they get the agreement off to go?
I'm glad that you brought that up because that was part of the presentation that I forgot to mention. The applicant did inform the adjacent touching properties as part of this request, as well as the HOA from 12 on Canton, and they did not receive any objections. Thank you.
How many properties in 12 on Canton have pools? Do we know? 8?
Eight of
Eight.
12.
And point of clarification on the side setbacks, is it still going to remain 10, or is it going to be less than that?
Yes, so they meet the 10-foot side setback required here. It's just on the rear that they're asking for the reduction.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Woodman. Would the applicant like to come forward? Good evening. Can you tell us your name and your address, please?
Thank you. I made that mistake last time. I'm Ashley Dover with Georgia Classic Pool, 1301 Iron Mountain Road. I'm here on behalf of the homeowner, Delana Nixon, for 2110 Canton View. I don't have much more to add other than what he said. I will say, as far as neighbors and HOA, we met with the HOA on site, the president, and he gave us his support. The next door neighbor that we're actually requesting for the encroachment on the side, in the rear, said that she was good as long as HOA was good. HOA gave us a signed letter, and then the neighbor that's being developed, we're actually building that pool. And so we spoke with them and have a letter that he's in support as long as y'all are in support. So, but I'm open to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from board? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I get a motion?
Need to ask for public.
I'm sorry,
comment.
any public comments? None? Okay, thank you. Motion?
Turn your mic on. Turn your
Can you
mic on.
turn?
I'll make the motion to approve based on staff's approval and conditions.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you. Okay. Our second case is V2415, Zifferato's 831 Smokehouse Court. It's a consideration of a variance to reduce the rear setback from 35 feet to 25 feet to allow for a deck and screen porch replacement on a single-family detached home on .42 acres. The property is located in the Fairfax subdivision, which has a platted rear setback of 35 feet. The property is located at 831 Smokehouse Court and is legally described as being located in land lot 1274, 2nd District, 2nd Section, Fulton County, Georgia. Mr. Woodman?
Thank you, Chairman and board members. The next request is a request for variance to reduce a rear setback from 35 to 25.7 feet to accommodate a deck extension and screen porch. This property is located at 831 Smokehouse Court in the Fairfax subdivision. It's about a half-acre property. It's zoned R15, developed with a two-story, 1,900-square-foot, single-family detached home. And that home does have an existing wooden deck on the back of the property currently. So this is a survey of the property today. You can see the deck, the existing deck is actually 27.3 feet from the rear property. I know this survey is actually incorrect. They're showing a 25-foot building setback. The platted rear setback on this property, so the rear setback that was shown on the subdivision plat at the time that this subdivision was developed actually required a 35-foot setback. 25-foot setback is what is required within the zoning, but the platted setback takes precedent over the zoning setback. So this deck, even though it's showing that it's inside the 25-foot building line, that's actually a 35-foot building line. So actually a portion of the home as well as most of that deck is already in the setback. So the applicant is looking to tear down the existing deck, make it a little bit wider, deeper for usability, which will push it further into that rear setback. So today it has a setback, the deck has a setback of 27.3 feet. The applicant is asking to push that about 2 feet into that. So it reduces it to 25.7 feet. They are also proposing to enclose a portion of that deck for a screen porch, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. The site plan is actually showing, the site plan that you see here shows the screened porch section of the deck, 288 square feet. The just deck portion that will remain is this piece right here. So that part will not be enclosed. It'll just be a deck with steps. That's about 120 square feet for a total just over 400 square foot deck and screened-in porch. We did look in this neighborhood, Fairfax subdivision. We did find several examples of similar variances. This property is also a cul-de-sac lot as well. So the front setback, the building is pushed back because of its location on a cul-de-sac, which limits the backyard area. So this shows what the portion of the deck that will become a screen porch versus just open deck. And this gives you a visual of what that deck, screen porch and deck will look like on the back of the home. This is just looking at, this is the screen porch and then the open deck area. Of course, looking at the review criteria for a variance, we did note that the property does have an unusual shape. It's located on a cul-de-sac. Of course, its location on the cul-de-sac required the home to be set back further than others on the same street. The structure is already legal non-conforming, so the deck is already encroaching into the rear setback. Just to get a little bit of more usable depth on the deck, they're pushing it approximately 2 feet further into that setback. The applicant also notified adjacent touching properties as well as the Fairfax HOA and did not receive any letters of did not receive any objections. That concludes the report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions from board? Thank you, Mr. Woodman.
I've got one.
Oh,
Of course, right? So for the R15 zoning, normally it's 25,
Yes, the rear setback is 25.
but because Fairfax, the way the subdivision was developed, it has 35. So it would normally
Yes.
be conforming in a regular.
Normally, it would conform to the rear setback, yeah, if it was just by zoning, but it's because of that subdivision plat that required a greater rear setback.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I ask a
Please.
question for Michael. Michael, this is for procedural purposes for us. As far as, informing neighbors, is it going to be, has to be in writing, or how do we know if those neighbors received or not? I understand if they have objections, they need to show up. For us, for future purposes, just wondering.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So we do give flexibility to the applicant on how they notify. So we do provide them with specific information that they have to provide as part of their notification. They have to notify them of the date of this hearing. So let me step back. So first of all, any applicant that comes to Board of Zoning Appeals has to notify the adjacent touching properties as well as the HOA if they have one. The notification that they provide has to include the date, time, and location of this meeting, so when the variance will be considered. And it also has to provide information on what their request is. So they need to let them know, I'm asking for a variance for a deck to reduce this rear setback from X to Y. They also have to provide a means of the adjacent neighbor to contact them should they have any questions, so providing a phone number or email. We allow for the notification, it could be verbal notification, so the property owner could knock door to door if they wanted. They could put a letter in the mail if they would like. Many times people within the same subdivision, they have email and phone numbers for their neighbors, so they can email them if they would like to. And what we require as evidence that they have done that is they provide us with a citizen participation Part B form that they complete, and they tell us if they had any objections or letters of support from any of their neighbors, and they provide that and they sign that document and provide that back to us. Yep.
any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward, please? Good evening.
Good evening. How are
Can you tell us your name and your address, sir?
Charlie Crippen, 5885 Musket Lane, Stone Mountain, Georgia, 30087. I'm the contractor building the deck at 831 Smokehouse Court.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add to what Mr. Woodman said? or-
That's pretty much sums it up. So nothing I have to add, really.
Okay, any questions from board? No?
Thank you.
Any public comments? None? Okay, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve with the staff recommendations.
Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. Any comments? Discussion? None? All in favor? Okay. Motion's approved. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And second? Thank you, everybody.